Thanks so much.
Thank
Hi
you.
there. So
Hello?
I think we're going to start. We're going to go straight into
Go
cooking.
right into the food.
Really? Okay. How's everybody doing? I wasn't expecting that.
So this is what we do on the show, by the way, too. So we have our home cooks, which I think which makes this show so much more different than any other cooking show that's ever been on, for several reasons. One, you can actually finally smell it and taste it, so you get to use your senses that you haven't
Just
had
like
to
they will
before.
today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is while we're on set too, he's letting me know immediately when somebody's in the weeds. He's like, oh, that's not gonna work. I was like, how do you know? It's like, I'll tell you later. But he just knows. But the beauty of it is just being on there, we get to eat incredibly well because he can't stand craft services because they don't stack up to what you can do. So we all eat pretty well, just like you guys are gonna eat today. So tell us what we're doing, Emeril, today. What
Well,
are we
you know,
having?
when we discussed coming here with my friend Tiffany and her team and our team, first of all, I want to thank my right hand here, Alon Joseph, for making this all possible. And
Yes.
as always, it's been early this morning, also starting at Times Square. But thank you. So we talked about doing something that maybe you could all walk away with and try to do this maybe sometime at home or on a weekend, whatever. And that is, if you go to Louisiana and go to New Orleans, you got to have gumbo. And so we thought, why not teach one of my favorite gumbos, chicken and sausage gumbo. So prior to Ty and I coming out here, we took a whole chicken. Just a regular whole chicken. If you want it organic, you can do an organic chicken.
We jerked the hell out of it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
incredible.
A few sprigs of thyme, covered it with water after we washed it. And we brought it up to a simmer, and we just simmered the chicken for about 45 minutes until the chicken was... And what we have is we have the chicken meat, take the skin off. We have the chicken meat from the chicken. And then we also have the stock. And why the stock is a little darker than a regular basic chicken stock is then we roasted the bones after that and then reapplied the bones to the original stock to give it a little bit more color.
How'd you roast the bones?
Just roasted them.
No kidding.
Yeah, in a little roasting pan in the oven. They get a little brown, they get a little caramelized, and then we added that to the broth to just give it a little bit more color. And some people would do that maybe with like a tomato product. But in this particular gumbo, no tomato. So it's very, very simple from that point on. And the key to a great gumbo is the roux. I mean, if you take the time and learn how to do the roux, it's not about high heat because it's about the color. Okay? It's all about the color, and it's about, can you smell that? You smell that? That's the roux that's happening right here because we're starting to get that chocolatey color.
Always cast iron? Always go with cast iron?
Cast iron is best. If you don't have cast iron, you know, you could use stainless, you could use nonstick, what you have, but cast iron is a really good source of heat. So we got our chicken, we got our stock, and now we've started our roux. What's in the roux? It's half flour and half oil, vegetable oil. I don't use any peanut oils or those type of oils, which have a great smoking point, only because of people with allergies, et cetera, et cetera. So I just do either vegetable or canola oil and flour. Yeah, you can do that, Tyler. That'd be great. No, seriously, I mean that.
I think...
Because what I want to show you is that when you're cooking, you know, and you're cooking with roux, which is the thickening agent, there are many stages of where roux is at. So the first stage, which is called a blonde roux, okay? So, you know, that's, again, it's not about how high the heat is. You guys can see that. Oh, I forget where I am here. Okay. So, yeah, right. Okay. So this is the first stage of the roux, a blonde roux. Then if you continue to keep cooking it, then you're going to get a little bit darker in color like that. Okay? And those of you that enjoyed, I hope you enjoyed the roux, the gumbo upstairs or downstairs, I forget where we are. But that was probably the color roux that the chef did, not so dark. I'm going a lot darker. I'm going a lot hotter, a lot more rustic I'm going. Then the next stage that you bring the roux up a little bit more, and this is all about temperature, about heat, about length of time, and about stirring. You have to stir. How do I know How do I know when the roux is perfect for my gumbo? It's easy. It's 2 beers. By the time you can drink 2 beers, the roux is absolutely perfect. Now,
You know, it does taste better already.
yeah, on a bad Sunday, I burn the roux purposely so I can have 2 more beers. It's a great excuse.
But
Now-
wait, no, let me just, I'm
Go
trying
ahead.
to get this right for me.
Yes.
So it's getting darker because of the heat. You sure it's not burning a little bit on the bottom?
No. You
Okay.
want to. That's why you want to stir that.
Okay, well, yeah, it's
Let me
getting
see
a little
what you
hot
got.
down there.
Yeah. You got to stir it, and you don't want a hot spot. Stir it real good.
My dog had one of those. You do not want one of those.
No, exactly. Now, the next thing that we're going to do, once the roux is ready, is we're going to add a trinity. And in classical cooking, everywhere in the world, they have a mirepoix, which is carrots, celery, and onions. But only in Louisiana do you have celery, onions, and bell pepper, which is called a trinity. Right. Sometimes it's the Holy Trinity. Okay? Yeah, stir that around good. Thank you, Ty.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing about Louisiana cooking, about New Orleans food, is about the layers of flavor. The layers of flavor.
Amen, brother.
The seasoning is very, very simple. We're going to use a couple of bay leaves, 2 or 3, which is from the laurel tree. We're going to use salt, okay? Really, look, this is not difficult now. And we're going to use cayenne pepper. Those are the basic seasonings in almost all Louisiana cooking. Very, very simple.
Love it.
Now, what we're going to do is once we start building this and we're layering this, then we're going to come back and re-season it. Did I get you?
I'm just guessing we may need a little moisture in there soon.
Maybe you need another beer.
That's what we need.
All right. So once this cooks about 6 to 8 minutes and we start getting flavor out of the trinity, then the next layer that we're going to add is andouille sausage, okay, or smoked sausage. Andouille preferably, which is a spiced pork smoked sausage, but if you can get a smoky smoked sausage, that will work as well. Chorizo will work, mostly the Portuguese type, and not the dry cured type. Gets a little bit oily, and it has a lot of paprika, so it'll bleed a little bit.
Can you get andouille sausage just about anywhere?
Just about anywhere now you can get andouille in most grocery stores. So as you can see, very basic ingredients. The hottest part was making the roux, and that roux took about 45 minutes to come together. And then the trinity, and then salt, cayenne, and bay leaf is where we are right now. We've already boiled the chicken. We've already taken the chicken off the bone. We got the meat. So now, basically now we're going to add another ingredient, garlic, which is one of my favorite things. So,
I'm with you.
you with me on that?
I love, man. You can't.
I know.
Could never be enough butter or garlic, right?
No, I know, exactly. Okay. So, how dark was the roux? Just to let you know, this is the color that it was. This is what we took out of there before we started adding that. It's about 45 minutes or so. Slow, medium heat. You got to keep stirring it, preferably with a wooden spoon.
So you've kind of gone from a Pinot to a Cab is what you've done.
Exactly, Ty. Exactly. Now, what we're going to do, very simple, is now we're going to start adding the liquid. The liquid should be cold, which is why you want to make the stock in advance. So if you want to buy stock, you could buy preferably maybe a low sodium chicken stock, okay? Now we're going to add the liquid. And the liquid has to be cold because this is hot. So if we added hot to hot, then what we're going to do is get lumps. If we added cold to cold, we're going to get lumps. So one has to be hot, one has to be cold. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add our broth in here. Now, using a roux, if you just work that right in, Ty, that would be great. When you're using a roux or any thickening agent, it'll never be at its full thickening ability, okay, or maximum ability until it comes to a boil. When it comes to a boil, that's when you're going to know how thick it's going to be. And it's only going to get thicker as it cooks, because as it cooks, you're going to have evaporation, which then you're going to have concentration, right? So you got to keep that a little bit into consideration. Okay, everybody with me so far? There's a big test at the end of this. Okay, now the biggest pot
He's like, I know.
The biggest part now, folks, is making sure that we come up to the boil. So we're going to turn that heat up and to let it cook. Now, a good gumbo, especially one rustic like this, is going to take about at least an hour and a half on simmer. Let it simmer. You got to let those flavors all meld together. We're going to taste it. We're going to re-season it. So when we taste it, we're going to say, well, you know what? It needs more salt. It needs more pepper. This is one that we have.
Thank you.
Hot.
Oh, that's horrible.
And then,
Wow. Where did the wine come from? How'd you get that? A
so
little touch of wine in there.
Noah Alon, my right hand, he has already re-seasoned it. But that's when you would say, okay, well, I want a little bit more salt, or it has enough pepper, or I would like a little bit more pepper. You can always serve this on the side. Some sort of hot sauce. Tabasco's good. It's a little vinegary. I like Crystal is one of my favorites. And also, this is what they call filet gumbo, or filet powder. So if we added filet powder into that, now we'd have a chicken, sausage, and filet gumbo. Does that make sense? So this is always usually served on the side if people want that flavor, unless it's a filet gumbo. Now, here's what we're going to do, Ty. Always serve with rice. You know what I think? I think we could jack this one up, too. What do I mean by that? Let's add more chicken. Why not? Let's add some green onions.
I always say more is more.
Let's add some parsley. If you want to just sort of mix that in for me.
Sure.
Thank you, brother. Oh, yeah.
I tell you, you Cajuns really know how to do it, man. I mean, it's true. I mean, I'm just saying, like, New Orleans, it's some of the best food, not just in America, in the world. It's like,
Amen. So now what we're going to do is we're always going to serve that gumbo with nice steamed rice. And if you want to get crazy and do other, flavored rice, jasmine rice, whatever, that's great. Just regular rice, a little bit of green onion, a little parsley garnish. There you go, brother.
so there's no beans in this?
No beans.
No kidding. Interesting.
Try that one.
And clearly I was off on the wine because you said nothing.
Where did you get wine?
Oh,
Other than where you had lunch.
I tasted it a little bit in there. Oh, wow.
Michael, I don't know where you are because I can barely see. Okay.
Ethan, our food team now is going to bring out samples of gumbo.
Yes,
Oh,
you guys
great.
should try this.
So everyone can try it.
Should we, Michael, do you want to open things up?
Yeah. So I was just going to ask you guys a few questions about the show and about you.
Please.
I realized I forgot to intro you guys earlier, but one thing I think most people don't know about you is that you guys hold the title of the highest pancake stack ever,
Yeah.
officially in the Guinness Book of World Records.
This morning,
As of this morning.
we broke the record. 202 pancakes.
And-
3 feet.
And the wind was making it go like this.
It was
Like,
scary.
oh. But yeah, Guinness Book of World Records. I mean, someone's going to beat us, but it's not going to be tomorrow.
I think one thing that's interesting is, Emeril, we were talking about this, is that tomorrow, October 3rd, marks your 20th year on Food TV, which is
Yeah.
kind of amazing.
Right. I mean,
So, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit. When you started, you were doing this, basically, right? It was
Yeah.
this in front of an audience.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago tomorrow, I didn't realize it was tomorrow until Michael brought that up. I was starting the Food Network, and I think I was the third or fourth employee at the Food Network. This is way before Chelsea Market, which is where the Homeland is over there now. Basically, there wasn't really anywhere really to shoot 20 years ago. I had got contacted about shooting a pilot. I didn't even know what that was. I thought he flew a plane. And called me in my restaurant and told me about this network that they were going to start with food 24 hours a day, and I thought they were crazy. And I'll make the story short. I worked with this production house in Nashville. I shot 2 different shows before The Essence of Emeril, which is the anniversary tomorrow, and I got fired because it was horrible. And I look at the tapes now, and I'm like, what were you thinking? God, this was terrible stuff. Because I was a cook, I really was. I didn't know anything about TV. I had my head down. It was just, I was chopping, and I didn't realize that I had to make this connection with this camera thing over here, and people at home. So a little over 20 years ago, I got a call from the president. He said, come to New York, and we brainstormed, and that's when the Essence of Emeril idea came, that I was universally trained and classically trained as well and schooled. And the show started. And as years went by with the Essence of Emeril, it did make it 12 seasons. And then somewhere around the 6th or 7th season, I was going to quit. I was just tired and just really wanted to be back in my restaurants and just only focusing on the restaurants. But that didn't happen because they lured me to do this show called Emeril Live. And so Emeril Live had a run for 10 years. And it was a great ride and a lot of fun. And my whole point of ever starting television was just to make it evolve. And that if I could take the intimidation factor, because it certainly wasn't for the money, because they paid me $50 a show when I started. It's the truth. And it was kind of like a setup like this, and it was like really makeshift. But it is what it is. There's 100 million people now in about 19 countries, and it was an amazing ride. And I sort of done some other shows. I'm doing another show right now for the cooking channel called Emeril's Florida. But I'll tell you what, working with Ty Pennington, I've never had more fun and never have worked with a more professional guy in television. He's hard.
Don't make me cry.
No,
I'll punch you.
He's as hardworking as I am, and I think I work pretty damn hard at it. And we're having a lot of fun. This is a really, really good show that debuts tomorrow on the menu. It's amazing to see how these home cooks in America have evolved, and the food that we're getting, huh, Ty?
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing quality, amazing presentations, and these are home cooks that are just looking to fulfill their dream. You're all about dreams, and these dreams are coming true for these people. I mean, they walk away with $25,000. I think the money's okay, but having the rights of saying, hey, my dish is going on the menu at Cheesecake Factory or whatever, that's a big deal. And I think it's going to really click with America because for the very first time, they can actually smell and taste the food.
Well, I'm sure these guys can also smell what it really is. It's also a genius marketing idea. I mean, it really is. It's genius. It's like, because, I mean, you've seen something like that before with Fashion Star, but, not everybody's going to want to go out and buy a $600 dress. I know I had one on hold, but somebody got it. But I think what's really cool about this is that you do give people, everyday cooks, man, a chance to really show what they can do. And they're just like everybody. They're just like us. And but the other cool thing is some of these restaurants that I know in the city we don't really consider restaurants, but like when I've been across the country building homes, this is where you stay. You stay at a Hampton Inn and you eat at those chains. That's what America is. And so it's going to be interesting because I think any place that you've got a menu item, to be able to add something new that's got a story, that's got some zest and excitement, I think is also a really good thing for the person who loves eating there. So everybody kind of wins. And it's fun because you really don't know who's going to pull it out, because they second guess themselves too, because they have to go through the process. What is interesting is Emeril and I are the first ones to taste it before anybody does.
Right.
And he doesn't let on anything. He's like,
Well, I watched the pilot, and
Yeah.
there's a woman who does something sort of questionable with a hamburger and a cake made out of instant mashed potatoes on top of it.
Right.
And then some kind of sweet cream cheese sauce or sweet sauce. And I'm sort of curious, like, what is like some of the worst abominations, crimes against food you've seen?
That's
while taping
probably
this
it
show?
right there. That
Really?
That was, and hopefully she's not in the room. But anyhow, that's probably one of them. I actually, I went to Ty and I said, Ty, you're not going to believe this. And he's like, well, what's up? I said, I think she's using like instant potatoes. And I asked her about it, and she said, yeah, that's how we do it at home. So I gave her a chance
Home
to
cook.
change. I basically said, something like, "Do you always use instant potatoes?" Like, hello. And so she used instant potatoes.
Yeah.
Do you remember that dish?
Oh yeah. Well, I just remember the texture because everything was soft, and I was like,
You could have gummed it.
but it was anyway. And I think that's what's kind of interesting
Yeah.
is that you get.
But it's
people-
real, and that's
Yeah.
what they do at home.
And they stick to their guns, and sometimes he'll give them some advice, and sometimes they'll take it, and sometimes they'll just be like, "Well, I know this is good. I'm going to stick to my guns." But
Yeah,
I mean, the fun part is we don't have to be the a-holes because they feed a room full of hungry diners, and they're the ones who really say exactly how they feel about the meal. And so the critique comes from like people that really care about a good burger or a good pizza or whatever they love the restaurant for. And I can't believe we're eating in front of everybody. No one's, they are getting it. Okay, thank God. Because I'm like, man, this is really amazing. You guys should try it.
Do you think home cooks are better now than when you started, Emeril? Do you
No
think-
question about it.
Yeah.
I think, so we talk about, Food Network 20 years ago. So talk about, probably when a group called the American Cuisine Symposium over 30 years ago was really trying to change the face and the image of what American cuisine was, because basically everybody else around the world looked at us like a joke. Like we had a few restaurants, but basically we knew, hamburgers and mashed potatoes and mac and cheese, and we weren't really respected really for cuisine. And I think about 30 years ago was when that started to change. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of serious pioneers at the time, like Alice Waters, like Larry Forgione, Paul Prudhomme. I could, go on and on and on. Jeremiah Tower, Jonathan Waxman. These guys, still some of them around, but they really started changing the face of what American cuisine and reintroducing farmers and fishermen and how that was, because farmers and fishermen didn't think that was cool 30 years ago either. And so why should I be a fisherman? I'm not going to make much money, but nobody respects me for what I do. Or why should I grow really great heirloom tomatoes, because nobody understands and respects what I do. And so that movement started, and then 20 years ago, the re-entry of food television started again after Julia and a couple of them out there, and it was rough. It was a rough beginning, and because people still didn't really quite understand. And my approach was really to take the intimidation out of it. My approach then, once I finally learned a little bit what I was doing, was that if I could connect and not make this so intimidating and make this like comfortable for you to want to maybe go home and make gumbo, then that would be cool. And if one person does that in this room, then I might have accomplished something. And so then the wave hit. Then it started hitting, and then the Food Network started getting more popular. Other things, as we know. But there was a long answer. I'm sorry. Yeah. But
well, the one thing I think we all remember, I just remember when you ordered a salad and everything was iceberg lettuce.
Yeah.
And then I remember the change happening when wait, what's this arugula?
Right.
This is fantastic. And it's the more you started to see, the more you started to experience, and I think everyone has, is now it's everyone really has become so much smarter with food because of shows like Emeril's.
I wanted to ask you one sort of tech question, or Google. In the world of food or in the world of home design, is there something you wish existed? An app, a device that would make your job in your life easier? It does not have to be a Google product.
But aren't they all Google products?
I can't talk about that.
I mean, we've come a long way, already, but that doesn't mean that you guys are stopping.
Well, I want some ideas, and I need something new.
Well, I would say this. I'm, it's funny. We're similar in many ways because we're look, I'm old school, but I'm also new school in the sense that I build homes. I built some really new homes, and we brought in some incredible technology that allows you to. I mean, these days, let's be honest, your device is what you plug into your house now, and it sets your temperature. For the first time, it's showing us how much energy we can save, which I think is a very positive thing. It keeps the mind about oh yeah, this is how much I'm wasting. Holy shit, I didn't realize that until someone finally showed me how much I'm wasting.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, at home, you're kind of nervous that if it all goes down, well, where's the manual button?
Right.
You know, so like I think we're all a little nervous about just relying so much on technology because it's sort of like I don't know, it's that uncle that, you know, you sure you want to keep your kids over there? But you know, it's like I mean, he's doing these crazy wild things, man. It's like, and he's really good with these inventions, but I don't know. But I think I've made my point in a really bizarre way. But yes, but I think with, but at the same time, you know, like the technology has also helped the home building industry completely as well. So it's hard to say. What would you say in food?
For me, food-wise, I think for me, Michael, is that I have trouble cataloging, which is something that you do extremely well. And what do I mean by that? So, you know, I have an apartment here, I have a house in New Orleans, I have a house in Florida, and I'm a crazy cookbook junkie. So I've got cookbooks everywhere. I have a test kitchen in New Orleans at home base, and we have thousands of books. So for me, it's about cataloging. I haven't quite figured that out yet.
Right.
Where I could bring something to the stove, and I would have my catalog based on whatever region or country of cuisine that I was preparing, and I could easily just get into it without. Where did I put that book? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, it's in New York. Oh, wait, what?
So this seems like a good 20% project for someone, for Emeril, to help him catalog his cookbooks and make sure that they're all always there at his tablet by his stove. I have one very specific New Orleans question. I was in New Orleans pretty recently, and there's a dish that you do very well called barbecue shrimp.
Yes.
Okay, it's not grilled.
No.
It doesn't have barbecue sauce.
No.
I don't understand this dish.
Yeah.
Why is it called barbecue? It's delicious. It's delicious. It's very peppery, Worcestershire.
Well, I think probably one of the originals. It started as a home dish, and we're very fortunate in Louisiana and along the coast in Florida, Mississippi, to have truly an abundance and easy way to access shrimp pretty easily. Shrimp boats are everywhere. You know, you go in New Orleans, you'll find these trucks that have ice chests they're selling shrimp. It's amazing. So my research tells me that basically it was a home dish that moms and dads used to do with a lot of butter, Worcestershire sauce, which is a big staple of their cooking, and garlic, maybe some onion. And then when it commercialized, it probably made its mark at Pascal Manalli's in Uptown New Orleans, where you have to have a bib, because it's still that, it's almost like a vinaigrette, if you will, but it's like Worcestershire and butter that's separated with a lot of cracked pepper, and you would dip it and you get crusty bread. And no, there's no barbecue sauce, and they're not on the grill, and they're not on the barbie. And so that's kind of where that started. Now, Emeril's this year will be, this coming March actually, will be 25 years that Emeril's has been open, my flagship. And when I was creating Emeril's, there are a few dishes that I wanted to do and create for a white tablecloth restaurant. I didn't say fine dining, I said white tablecloth. So, and one of them was I wanted to do the barbecue shrimp. So what we did is we took the shrimp and we took the heads and took the shells, and we made an extraction or a barbecue base, even though it's not a barbecue sauce.
Right.
Heavy Worcestershire, lots of herbs and spices, pepper, of course, Worcestershire, lemons, and this is reduced down. It's a slow process, a reduction that makes not quite a paste, but it's like more of like a syrup.
Right.
And that's what we use, of course, with a little cream and butter, the things that are good for you. And that's our barbecue shrimp. And I created that, and it was one of the very first dishes that we put on the menu. And the flavor of it is just what you've experienced, except there's no mess.
Right.
It's a knife and fork kind of deal, and we serve it with a petite biscuit, rosemary biscuit. And so now everybody has their variation on that.
Right.
But it's also fun to do at the beach because it's an easy dish that you can get shrimp. and you can either make a stock or not, or with the shells, or you basically just put them in a cast iron with a lot of butter and parsley and garlic and Worcestershire sauce, and you simmer them up until they cook, and you serve them with crusty bread.
But shrimp are a little tricky though, because you can't overcook them, right?
You can't overcook them.
Yeah.
That's why I say they have a built-in thermometer, because luckily they turn that color unless you're using a ruby red shrimp. They just have that. It's like salmon. They have that color that they turn, they go, and then they turn pink, and you know that they're perfect. But you can't overcook them.
I think it's time to open up to some questions from the floor. I don't know where the microphone is. Is it there?
I didn't have it
Want
last.
to come up?
There are no questions
kidding, I
in the
just
room
love saying it.
whatsoever. Hi.
What advice do you have for picky eaters and getting them to expand what they eat, particularly the adult kind of picky eaters?
Adults,
Yes.
not children.
No, so like smarter than a child.
Like
Well,
me.
that's what you thought. I have a theory, particularly when it starts with kids and it starts at an early age. My brother is an example. When growing up, my mom, who's a fantastic cook, God thanks that she's still alive, he would not eat anything that she made that had celery or onion or bell pepper in it, which is also the Trinity is a staple called sofrito, but in Portuguese cooking, right? So she made two of everything. So she made one the regular way that she wanted and one a different way. And I always used to think like, wow, I mean, that's wrong. Now he eats it because he has no choice, because his wife's not going to make him two of everything. So he either eats it or not. But going back to an early age, I think that it might have started from the top, that somebody told him that onions and celery or whatever weren't good, or duck wasn't good, or pheasant wasn't good, or my wife grew up right on the coast in Mississippi in Gulfport, and when we met, I always I thought it was strange that she wouldn't eat fish, and you could see the ocean from her house, but she didn't eat fish, or she would eat trout, speckled trout, or she'd eat redfish, but she wouldn't eat the other fish from the Gulf. And I couldn't figure it out. And the reason that I finally figured it out was that, there's a lot of bad fish out there, and fish should have no odor. It should have no smell. It should smell like the sea. And maybe she wasn't getting the greatest fish, where they were buying it, unless they went and caught it. And so that was, one of mine set for her, that I don't really eat a lot of seafood. I'm not answering your question.
No.
I could just tell by
I do that a lot.
your facial expression was continually getting more and more pissed off as I was talking. Is there anything particular about this person that?
No, thank you. That's great.
I'm sorry I pissed you off. The day's going to get better, I promise.
So how did the two of you join forces to create this show? Did you know each other before? Did one of you call the other on up on a whim?
I'll give you my version. Ty can give you his version. I've been a big fan of this guy. I don't watch a lot of television, but I did love his show. I loved his connection with people. And then he and I did a project together for Good Morning America, where Ty sort of rebuilt a hospital for children.
Give kids the world.
Yeah, and I was part of it and did the food part of it for the hospital. And we met and we sort of connected. And what we really didn't know is that, his agent was working on this show and my agent was working on this show, but he and I couldn't really say anything to each other. And then shortly after, Mark Burnett and his team at Mark Burnett Productions said, "Hey, we got this great show. You guys should think about this. You guys would be great together." And it really has been a blast. I mean, we're really having. That's my story. I'm sticking to my story, but.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm really good friends with the lady who works with Mark Burnett. She's a very smart lady in television, and I've worked with her on several things, and she called me one day. I was like, hey, I've got this show idea that I'd like you to hear, and I was like, you want me to host a cooking show? She's like, well, it's more than that. And I was like, okay, let's hear it. And she's like, and then she said, you'd be working with Emeril, and I was like, I like it already. But as she sort of unlaid, what makes the show so different, and the fact that we're working with home cooks, that you really a dream, and I realized, wow, this is a chance to really see somebody who's got a passion about something, really live a dream. At the same time, it's a challenge. You don't know what's going to happen. It's got high energy, and it's clearly that's why I was brought in, for the energy. And what's fun about Emeril is, like, we didn't really know each other too well. But we were both surprised by each other's, like, sort of sense of humor, but we have two different styles. Like, we're sort of like Bert and Ernie. You know what I mean? It's like, one's like, and the other's is sort of like, just barely says anything, but when he says it, it's good. So yeah, well, it's fun, I think it's a fun show because he gets to lend his expertise to people who really need it. Well, why was that funny? And I just get to lend non sequiturs, which is also my gift. And so it's a lot of fun.
I think there was a question over here.
Hi, thank you for being here. So I'm pregnant, and when I have my midnight craving for gumbo, but I don't have 3 hours to make a roux, what can I whip up that's like the essence of New Orleans in 5 minutes that'll like give me that spicy gumbo taste, and then I could just go back to bed?
That's a good question.
You eat pasta?
I eat everything.
I'm pregnant.
If you have pasta and you have this stuff, this essence stuff, the spice,
Where do you get that?
it's in a lot of grocery
It's in the
stores.
essence aisle,
I think you can
next
go
to Emerald's.
But any kind of Creole seasoning, right? And if you even just used olive oil, not even like cream base, if you used olive oil and sprinkled that on, and you had some a protein and maybe some smoked sausage, you'd be like really close.
Okay, be
And
quick.
that would be less than 20 minutes probably.
Great. And Tums for dessert.
I'm sorry?
Tums, yeah, to take the edge off.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with bananas Foster.
Hey guys, just want to say thanks for taking your time to do this. And
Thank you.
I was surprised that you said you thought home cooks were better today than in the past. I mean, with Seamless and everything now, and going out to eat, even when I was young, was a special thing. And now that I'm getting older, it seems like everybody can get takeout so easily. That food has become so much more accessible that I would be surprised if more people were cooking at home now than before. So I was just wondering if you had any reason why you thought people were better now than before. Is it just more information or what?
You probably got all the good answers. I would say in the past it was usually one person cooking in the family, but I think, let's just say, Modern Family has really evolved in all kinds of different ways, and so more people are cooking. But I think there's more ideas, there's more visuals, because of the cooking shows, that more people are trying it, where some people say, oh, I can't do it, or like, well, maybe I'll try it. So that's what I mean. I think there's more volume of people trying it at home. There's certainly a lot better restaurants these days, I think, just because they've amped up the game a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, the game has definitely changed a lot, and at home as well. There are more people in the household now cooking than ever. I mean, you guys are the kings of that stuff. I mean, knowing that statistic stuff, but I meet just about everybody I meet these days, are trying at some level about cooking, or at least wanting to try at some level. And then there are a lot of things that have passed. For a while there was a craze that folks were having sort of these weekend parties where they were trying to do Iron Chef things, and couples against couples against couples, and a lot of fun things started happening.
Like salmonella.
So I say all around it's got nothing but better.
I think we have time for just one more question over here.
Hi, I'm curious about your process for finding the restaurant partners for your show. Was there a level of variety you're looking for? What was the thought behind who you picked to be the restaurants that choose the dishes?
I love that you passed it to me. Well, thank you so much for your question. I honestly think it was a simple thing where, TNT put the word out that, look, we're doing a show that is really going to showcase home cooks and a challenge to put it on everyday, restaurants and chains. And I think hats off to some of the people who, some of the restaurants that wanted to take a risk, because it is a risk when it's a television show. But more than that, these guys, you got to remember, they're not just being involved. On Friday night when the show airs, okay, Chili's kitchen staff with restaurants over the country are finally understanding what ingredients are going in, because nobody even there knows yet until the show airs on Friday night, which means that entire staff has to be ready to create that dish for Saturday. So it's a big commitment, and I think
and the execution is incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty. Well, like I said, I think what's astounding about it is it's never been done before, and it is a big step forward. But I think it's one of those things that, as far as integration goes, and as far as like synergy, that you're still having a good entertainment. You're also learning a lot about food, but at the same time, you're also sort of really giving. Advertising's changing too, and so if you can deliver that and it works, it could be groundbreaking. And so it's going to be interesting to see. Again, we haven't answered your question, but we've talked for a while.
Well, I think that TNT did a super job of getting the word out in America that this was going to happen. People then submitted recipes to them. There was actually a process that had to go through that, and then these people were selected. And it's their dishes. I mean, it could be their grandmothers, it could be their aunts, their uncles, whatever. But it's their interpretation of that dish or their dish, and they're doing everything they can to try to get it on the menu.
To change it enough that it would work on the menu of whatever restaurant we're working with.
That's an important thing too, Ty, like you just said, because not everything submitted can possibly be either afforded or executed.
And 120 ingredients isn't going to fly. But,
exactly.
But I think they did really want a variety, because you can't just have hamburgers. You can't just have this. You need a variety of restaurants, because you need to hit the gamut of breakfast, dinner, lunch, dessert, and so you want it to be able to constantly be changing so that there can be surprises for the taste buds every week.
And we had we have an amazing kitchen staff on the show, really amazing.
Great medic staff too.
Yeah.
Just ready at any moment.
Right. A lot of Band-Aids, flu shots, but the pantry has to be completely stocked, because we don't know what direction they're going to go. So it's a really big challenge. It's a big shop for them every other day on the set, because it's not only proteins, but it's produce, and the freshest, greatest ingredients that we can get.
It's funny. I try and put myself in the place of one of the home cooks. I was thinking to myself, okay, I think I'm good enough that I could create something that maybe somebody would dig. But I'm dumb enough to pitch these really bad ideas to the corporate executives just because I'm sitting next to them, and they're just like, what? But I'm like, good work. So anyway, but my point is that it's not just creating this dish, but then realizing they have to whip out 40 plates. So you immediately go from like this person who's been cooking for your family to, oh, by the way, you got to go feed a room, and like they all have to be delivered, because
and they're customers of these places, so they know the menu and their product.
And so then it hits you like, wait, maybe I couldn't do this. I was like, because like 40 places, I can deliver one and be like, you're gonna love this, but 40, what? So it's kind of it's fun, and it's a great challenge.
Well, I think you guys have to run. They've got a busy schedule. I want to thank you guys for coming. Please, everyone, give them a big hand.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, man. Thanks,